So this car is loaded down. I've got all my tools and parts in there. Jack stands in here. And just some extra stuff. Welcome back to your favorite small automotive YouTube channel, Evo Auto. I'm Nate, and this is how to make an older car feel new again. In the last video, I kind of was running around getting prepared to do major maintenance and repairs on my wife's 2007 Hyundai Sonata SE right here behind me in the shop. A huge shout out to my cousin for letting me use his shop. Thank you so much. It really helps out more than you know. And today I'm going to be doing the number 2 most important thing you can do to make an older car feel new again, and that is to work on the suspension. We're going to be replacing shocks and struts on this car, and I'm going to be doing all new brakes and rotors. With that said, let's go ahead and get this car up in the air. Alright, so I'm here doing Brooklyn's car. I finally got the thing up on jack stands and I started to work on it. The back 2 tires I can't get off because they use these weird hub tires, kind of like a European car. And look at the rust on this Audi. That's pretty typical of these Sonatas. Unfortunately, it's probably one of the only downsides really mechanically to owning one of these cars is that they are so rust prone. So I'm not even going to try to clean these these brake rotors up. They're going to get thrown away, and I've got some nice drilled and slotted ones that I'm going to put on the car. Those back tires I got to get off. I've got mallets there, and then we're going to change the oil on the V6. So anyways, that's kind of where we're at with the repair, and I will catch you guys in a minute. So these brakes, they're not as bad as the Audi brakes. It did take me forever to get that hardware off, but I just want to show you guys. So your brake pads, they're supposed to slide freely in this hardware, at least pretty much free. Well, let me see if I can demonstrate this. Yeah, I've been tapping on that. It did not slide freely, and it actually knocked the hardware off because it's just completely rusted to it. So yeah, this is an example of why you do regular brake service every 30 to 40,000 miles, just for your safety, but also if you want to make your car feel new again. Alright, so I finally got the first strut off. This is the new one. The old one is laying right there. It was kind of a pain in the butt to have to do, to be honest. I'm going to try to wiggle this one up in there. Let me show you guys. So this is what a 2007 Hyundai Sonata looks like without really anything on it there, especially the strut. The old one goes up, the new one goes up right in that hole, and then I'll somehow get this frozen rotor off, put the new one on, and get everything slapped back together. Alright, so I'm just cruising right along now. I'm getting some B-roll footage for you guys so that you can see what I'm doing in the repair. I've got the new strut on down here. It looks very nice, very shiny. I've put the drilled and slotted rotor up. I'm going to go ahead and clean up all the brake hardware and get that all put back together. But you can tell already what an improvement this is going to be. The old brakes were very rusted, and I'm sure they were very sticky. And they've been a pain in the butt to take off here, and so I'm gonna go ahead and get this last little bit put back together, and we'll move to the other side. I have been here so much longer than I had hoped this was gonna take, so. Oh, it is now past 6 o'clock at night. I'm still working on the car. So I have that side's I have the passenger front strut done. I have the passenger rear completely done, brakes and the shock absorber, everything. I have the brakes done in the back on the driver's passenger side or driver's rear side. And then I have the brakes done on the driver's front side. I'm getting the strut done on the driver's front side. And let me tell you about the driver's rear side shock absorber was kind of a mess. So for some reason it did not want to come off easily, so I ended up having to grind it out. And I ground that out, and now I don't know what to do. I'm gonna have to pound the bolt or the bolt back out towards the other way. But life lesson: if you think that you're going to be able to wrench on your car quickly, you're probably not. Something always goes wrong, even on simple repairs like brakes, shocks, or struts. And unfortunately, with this being a Hyundai, that was rust. So I have the rotor to still take off on the passenger front brakes that I cannot get off because there is a rusted screw that's stuck onto it. I haven't been getting a lot of B-roll footage. I haven't been filming a lot for you guys, and I apologize for that. And that's just because it's taking such a long time, and I've got other things to do, and this is my wife's car, and this is something that I actually have to do for it. I'm not just doing it for YouTube or for fun, although I do enjoy working on them and whatnot. I'm maybe a little bit weird that way, but this is still our car, and we need it. We need it to be working, and I'm 50 miles away from home, and I haven't eaten anything all day, and it's just it's drug on a little bit, and that's okay. So anyways, just a life lesson: your repairs will always take you longer, so always plan for extra time. I did, but I did of course not plan for this much extra time, and I still have probably an hour or two left to go. Is it worth it? Yeah, it's worth it. These rotors, these brake rotors, they're pretty cool. They're drilled, they're slotted. It's a Hyundai, probably don't need them, but they're cool. And this car is gonna ride so good when it's done with the new shocks and struts, if I ever can get one on that back tire there. But yeah. So I'll just flip the camera around here. This is what I got going on in the front. Brakes are done, back brakes are done. The shock absorber, it should have looked like this, and it should have slipped out like that. Instead it didn't, so I ground out the bottom, and you probably can't see it because it's really, really dark back there and hard to see, and everything's low, but well, it's missing the shock absorber because I gotta get the innards of that shock absorber out. It should look like this side. You can see the shock there, and brakes are done, and then I cannot get this stupid screw out. I started to strip it. I've been letting it soak in WD-40 because I can't pull the rotor off without it, and I'm gonna have to bang the hell out of this thing to get the rotor off as well. And I gotta compress that caliper, and it's up in the air, and I haven't done the oil change. I don't think that I'm gonna get to the oil change today. So I'm still here. It's 8:30, and I do have both of, let me see if I can show you guys this. Do have both the tires on this side. Everything's done, that's wrapped up. I took a break, got some water. I found out that Blackfoot does not have DoorDash and that Subway does not deliver, and it's okay. I found some granola bars in the center console. My cousin's actually gonna come help me figure out that bolt there, and then I overextended I sprung the quick strut assembly, so my bad, and we'll try to figure that out as well. Alright, so I have a confession to make. I don't really know where I left off in the last clip. It is now 2 days later. I just got off work, and I'm headed to Blackfoot from Idaho Falls. If you don't know Idaho geography, that's 35-ish minutes away. So I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna finish Brooklyn's car today because Davey, my cousin, thank you so much. He got that bolt, or I guess the shock bushing off of the back. He had to superheat it super red hot and somehow get it off. I mean, it makes sense it'd break free that way. We tried getting it super hot and pounding the bolt out on Saturday, but we couldn't pound it through the hub. Davey hit it pretty hard and it was not going to come through the hub, so I'm going to just reuse that same bolt. You should be able to reuse your bolts on this on that part in this car, but I was going to replace it. The threads are a little bit gummed up, but not terrible. But now the nut is smashed, so I have to get there, and I have to hurry over to Cal's Ranch to buy another nut to put on there. And then after that, I should have about 15 minutes worth of repairs and a quick oil change, let the car jack stands clean up, and finally go home. And yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing on the Hyundai. But as you know, repairs never go as planned, so always plan for kind of a buffer. They're going to take longer than you think, and if you are very unlucky like I was in this repair, something will either break on you, you'll have to wait on more parts to come in, or wait for the stores to open to get more parts, or something will be rusted and stuck, or you won't be able to get a bolt off, or you'll round a bolt's head or strip a screw out. I actually stripped a screw and had that shock bushing get stuck back on its stud on the back hub in this repair. I spent probably 4.5-5 hours on that back stud, on that back bolt, trying to get that bushing off. Guys, be relentless. You have to get those bushings or those bolts, or the strip screws. You have to get them out, because if you don't, you can never drive your car again and the repair will never get finished. And you know what? Like, mechanics have trouble with the same exact thing. We ended up having to get the cutting torch out and really heating it up, and it happens sometimes. My cousin was super nice to spend his time today out of his busy day, out of his schedule, to work on that and get it off for me, and to take the front strut out that I messed up. I also messed up a front strut, so being a guy with an impact wrench, I was quickly zipping off all of the bolts up on top of the mount for the strut in front, and I accidentally zipped apart the strut, or the bolt in the middle, which of course sprung the strut. And because of that dumb decision, it overextended. I wasn't able to pull it out of the mounting bracket, and we weren't sure, me and my cousin, we weren't sure if we could just cut the strut out, or if we needed to get the special clamp and compress the spring once again. And I tried to compress the spring with a jack, but yeah, don't do that. Don't do anything that may be considered somewhat unsafe in a repair, because it's not worth it. I mean, at that point, I was probably hoping the car would fall on me, because it was a very, very long day, but don't do it. He found out that we could cut it from his mechanic buddy, and he went ahead and used his angle grinder and ground through it. So all that I have to do now is get to Davy's shop here in about 25 minutes, go grab that nut, run into town, get a new nut, fill up his car with gas, bring it back, bring the nut back, put the shock on in the back, put the strut on in the front, and get everything back, torque to spec, put the wheels on, do an oil change, drop the car, torque the tires, and then clean the shop up, go out, burnish the brakes, and of course test drive the car. Test driving is very important. I don't have that luxury because it's already 7:15. It's going to be late tonight, and I should probably burnish the brakes. I don't think that I'm going to. I think I'm just going to jump on the interstate and pray that they work and that everything's all right. So anyways, that's kind of what I'm up to. That's what's happened in this video. One final thing in this video before I get to the shop, I just also want to, I don't think I can stress it enough, give a huge shout out to my cousin. Thank you so much for all of your help on this car. Thank you so much for letting me come and use your shop. I really appreciate it. You have no idea what that means to me. You know, you can't always go out and just afford to pay a mechanic $1,200 to work on your car. I took the risk to come and work on my car myself. It cost me $350, and yeah, it cost me a lot of time. I didn't plan on it costing that much time, so huge thank you for coming to help me get that bolt off, for helping me cut that front strut off, and also a huge thank you again to my cousin for letting me take your car home that night to be able to spend Sunday and that evening with my wife and not make her drive all the way up and spend more gas, I guess, in that aspect and miles on our other vehicles. And yeah, just a huge thank you for all of that. You are absolutely amazing. I don't know really anybody else that would do that for me. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys back at the shop. All right, I'm back at the Hyundai. This is the back bolt where the shock absorber sits on. The bushing was stuck onto it. You can see that the bolt is a little gummed up from where I ground it and what he had to do to get it off. Here's the new nut. The old nut was completely destroyed. I'll put a picture up of it now, but I'm having trouble getting it on, I think because of the gummed up threads, so I might have to clean this bolt up a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. This has just been such a mess. Anyways, I'm gonna stop recording. I just wanted to show you guys kind of what happened. Here's the bushing that was frozen onto it. So this was actually on the inside. Where's it at? This was actually on the inside of the shock absorber. I ground it off and he superheated it, knocked that off today. And then here's that old nut that's completely destroyed. So I got a new one, and I'm going to put it on, put the shock absorber on, and get the front on. We'll call it good. All right, so I don't know how I got black on my face. I'm at the shop. In case you guys didn't know, I made a quick video on the Diamante just for fun, so you guys get to see my reaction with that. I got that back tire done. I think I actually talked a little bit about this. I got the bolt. I showed you guys the bolt. I had to rethread it. I spent like literally an hour, so I got here a little after 8. It's now after 9. I spent an hour rethreading that, filing it down, getting those threads ready, putting the rethreader on, rethreading it, and then finally getting the nut on. Put that on, put the 2 nuts on top, put the tire on. Okay, now let me flip the camera and show you guys what I've got to do here in front. Super simple, super easy, good to go home. Those brakes are looking good. So, you can see there's no strut. I've got to throw the front of the strut up there, and then the bottom of the strut sits in that thing. Got to put all the bolts back on. 3 up top, 4 or 5 down here. Good to go home. I think right now while I do the strut, I'm going to actually do kind of a quick oil change. I'm going to get my drain plug undone. I'm going to get my pan down there, and I'm going to get this thing draining. Make sure I have the right oil for it and the filter, and good to go home. Alright, so I'm doing an oil change really quick. I got this tire on, that tire on, all the shocks and struts are on. After the oil change, I'll be ready to let the car down. I have the oil filter in my hand. I'm going to show you guys why in a second. I just did a parts location video. This oil filter is on top of the engine. You have to take the engine cover off. It's right on the right side. Such an interesting place for an oil filter. If you're like me, you've done a million oil changes. I just crawled under there, could not find it, had to have my wife Google it. She found it. Let me know where it's at. I'm replacing this. I'm going to show you guys an oil change in this car later on in a different video. I think it's kind of interesting. But as part of everything, if you want your car to feel new again and last a very long time, do your regular oil changes every 3,000 miles or 6 months, whichever comes first. We pushed it a little bit on this car, and I think this oil filter probably has more than 3,000 miles on it. Alright, so I got the car down on the ground. It is an awful lot shorter. Yes, I cleaned up that engine cover. How good does it look? We are completely done. I gotta start the car, pump up the brakes, clean up all the tools, and I guess solve my mess. And yes, my wife and I are back on soda. So thanks to Coca-Cola, or because of Coca-Cola, I was able to do this repair. Not a paid product placement in any way, shape, or form. So it is 10 o'clock at night. I'll be home probably about 11:30 or so. I did the oil change, brakes, shocks, struts, all of that completely done. Spent all day Saturday on that repair. Talked about that earlier on in the video. Hopefully any of this video made sense at all, but I hope you guys are enjoying this series of how to make an older car feel newer again. Now, we're not done with my wife's 2007 Hyundai Sonata. I'm over it, I'm done with it, but we're not done with it. We've still got a tune-up to do and a few other things left to do on this car. So stay tuned to the channel because we've got more videos coming very soon on this car. Let me know what you guys would like to see in the comments below. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. I've got regularly scheduled automotive videos every weekend and midweek marketplace in the middle of the week. I hope you guys are doing great, and I will catch you in the next video.